Sisters and brothers, online, in front of me, behind me, my name is Kent Riddle, and along with my wife Susan, we've now been members of this church for 33 years. We've always tried to be there for this church. Over the years, Susan and I have served on every board and nearly every committee, and we Presbyterians love our committees. So that's saying a lot. Don Taylor convinced us that we should buy a niche in the columbarium, so let's just say that we're not going anywhere too soon. This congregation has definitely been there for us. Just one night alone. Some of you know 20 years ago, this congregation lifted up thousands and thousands of prayers as Susan was flown to the ICU at Butterworth, and we held vigil that night and for the ensuing nights. At midnight, one of our pastors, Al Wienick, showed up to say, "Kent, she's going to be fine." I said, "Al, how do you know that?" He said, "Because all of these hundreds of prayers that Larry Hallenbeck started, they're Presbyterian prayers. And Presbyterian prayers are worth 2 or 3 times anyone else's prayer." And about 2 o'clock in the morning, he tag teamed with Riley Jensen, who had been packing for a trip to Seattle the next morning, and Riley stayed with us until he went to shower to go to the airport that morning. And my son Scott and I, who were in the car with Susan, washed our oil, antifreeze, and glass out of our hair at Tom and Pat Macklin's house that next morning. And if you want to see a miracle, she's sitting right over here. I have the privilege of serving with my fellow hospital CEOs on the Kent County Mental Health Crisis Task Force. From our perspective, and I'm sure you see this from your perspective too, our community is really struggling. Anxiety and depression is up 400% in Kent County. Spousal abuse and child abuse is up 350%. Attempted suicide and death by suicide is up 400%, all since the beginning of this pandemic. We're struggling with the 2-year pandemic for sure, but we're also struggling with anger and violent rhetoric politically. We're struggling with racism and otherism and tribalism in our country. We're struggling with deliberate misinformation and mistruths that are leading millions to buy evangelical dogmas, usurping our religion in the name of an exclusive, judgmental, hateful, and extremist God that we don't believe exists. Is not our very democracy at risk? So what are you and I to do? What are we to do? I'm here to tell you Westminster is a solution. This place, this church, this congregation is a solution right here in Grand Rapids. We can teach our young people and we can teach ourselves our solution of faithful optimism and confidence, of inclusion and kindness and understanding and rational dialogue with a hope that's born out of the gospel. We can love and we can welcome all people, gay, trans, or straight, black, white, or brown, disabled, believers, non-believers. Yes, the world needs Presbyterians now more than ever. Do you know that soon 12,000 people will be living in downtown Grand Rapids? Many are young and unchurched. So we have tremendous opportunity to serve and teach and grow and feed these young people with a faith that transcends these cultural, societal threats. And we've always survived as a church right? We've survived as an abolitionist church during the Civil War. This church survived the Spanish flu. We survived the Depression. We survived World War II. And we survived 2020. And this pandemic is going to end. And we're well positioned as a leading downtown church in Grand Rapids with fantastic staff and pastoral staff that we absolutely adore. Many of you have voiced to me on the phone that you're concerned about our church finances in the future. And I tell you that I am entirely confident. I mean, for heaven's sakes, our senior pastor has a Harvard MBA in finance. How many churches can say that? We have 3 greatly needed core missions. Are there any better missions than early child education, food security, or development of young people to be better citizens? We have a sprawling, beautiful facility in the heart of downtown, and we have a congregation that's always been entirely engaged in our mission. Yes, we have a solution. So this is my appeal to you. Let's invest in this, our best opportunity to make a positive difference in the world. Susan and I have been through some years when we've had very little or nothing at all to give. And one year I remember when we had nothing to give, we volunteered. In others that were lean years, we somehow squeezed out 5 to 10%. And then when we've had years of plenty, we've given a lot. In fact, Susan and I believe so fully in Westminster's ability to make a positive difference in this troubled world that we're submitting our pledge today with a 25% increase over the previous years. Each of us can only do what we can do, right? Each of us can only do what we can do, but we can bring our best selves to this task. And doing it together and investing together, we can produce a bright light in this world's darkness. We can be a beacon of hope on this hill at 47 Jefferson. Are you with me?